G'day ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags. Well, patch 1.47 is now out, however I haven't had a chance to do much recording in 1.47 yet. So today's two battles, we're going to be looking at a couple from patch 1.45, and we're going to be looking at the Spitfires. Our first battle of today, we're looking at the Spitfire F Mark.IX. This is the first of the Mark.IX Spitfires available. I'm flying out with Mk.IX, the man who is directly responsible for me beginning to play War Thunder in the first place, and one of my subscribers, the Kiwi. So the three of us have taken off, we've taken a standard climb angle and we've diverged away from our team by 45 degrees to check out what's going on the other side of the map from where the rest of the team is going. Unfortunately, what we've run into is the entirety of the enemy team in one pass. So the first thing I'm doing here is banking away as I've opened up a gap on my wingman. Now I want all three of us grouped up together so we can attack these enemy fighters as a group, work as a team, and buy time for the rest of our team to actually catch up and get into position. Now we are versus Germany in this particular battle, so the enemy team consists almost exclusively of 109s and 190s. So aircraft that excel in energy fighting and boom and zoom tactics. Now our little squad consists of my Spitfire F Mark.IX, Kiwi's Spitfire F Mark.IX, and Mk.IX's Premium Mustang 1A. Now all three of these aircraft are more manoeuvrable than their German oppositions, so what we're going to do is try and get into the middle of the swarm as fast as we possibly can and engage them in a turning battle, and hopefully they'll follow. So I've picked out my first fighter of this engagement and looking at a G2 Tropical. He's gone vertical and is looping back and down. Now in this situation he should have just ran. Instead, he is trying to turn with the F Mark.IX. Now, he can outrun me if he had chosen to do so. However, if you look at the maneuvers he's pulling, the evasive flying he's pulling, he's actually burning out all of his energy rather than running directly away, which is allowing me to keep right on him. Now, his maneuvers were able to throw off my aim, however, the second he went into a wide elevated banking turn, he basically exposed himself to my guns, and there's my first kill of the match. Now my mistake here was I was a little wild on the trigger. I'm down to 121 of my 240 rounds of cannon ammunition on board, and this is actually going to cost me a kill later on in the match. There are times when I really need to take my own advice of trigger discipline at all times. So, with that G2 out, I'm breaking away from combat, getting some distance and working out who I want to engage next. And this is one of the important parts when fighting in a Spitfire. Never engage the enemy on their terms. You don't need to. Observe what they're doing and then engage them on yours. So observing the fight and how the fighters are reacting to my wingmen that are currently engaged, there's a Focke-Wulf 190 here that is showing far too much interest in my wingman Mk.IX, so I'm looking at him next. I want him removed from the match. I can't afford to let my wingmen get shot down. We've only had a couple of our teammates actually arrive at this time, the rest are still en route. And this is something you have to keep in mind when you're flying in squads with mixed aircraft. Why all three of our planes are extremely manoeuvrable, and in fact more manoeuvrable than the German fighters we're facing, Mk.IX's Mustang is the least manoeuvrable of the three aircraft, and that means he is the most vulnerable to the 190s and the 109s, so we have to watch him closely and make sure nothing gets on his tail, as he has the lowest chance of actually managing to avoid the fight. Now I'm honestly not entirely sure what happened there. I put a spray into the back of the 109 and he just went straight into the deck. Now he had taken a hit earlier on, but he didn't appear to have any critical damage, so whether or not that was an attempt at suicide, or I don't know. Regardless, that's another 190 out of the fight, so bring the plane back around, find out what the hell's going on with my wingmen. Now they are currently engaged with a BF-109, however they appear to have it completely under the thumb. However, we have a 190 and a 109 that is sitting at altitude just offside of the fight, observing what is going on. It's only a matter of time before they engage, so I'm going to dip the nose down and try and close distance. While having an altitude advantage in something like a Spitfire is definitely preferable if you can have it available, it's not something that's necessary. You can engage 109s and 190s from below using your manoeuvrability rather than your speed and energy retention to fight them. So next target is a damaged 109G Tropical. While he is blowing a lot of smoke, it doesn't seem to be removing his combat effectiveness at all, and he was right on Mk.IX's ass, so I really needed to clear him out. Second kill of the match. However, Mk.IX and Kiwi have both just told me over comms that we have two more fighters diving in on top of us. Mk.IX takes a massive hit from a 109, is set on fire. I immediately bring around to engage that 190 that is on his tail. Kiwi is currently being engaged by the 109 that was sitting at altitude. Thankfully Mk.IX's fire has gone out, however the damage rendered him combat ineffective, so he's going to have to RTB. Not enough lead on this 190, but I do manage to drop around on its tail. I get a good solid hit, but unfortunately that's the last of my cannon ammunition out, and I'm down to 614 rounds of MG. Now I can still take out this A5 with the MG, but it's going to be death of 1,000 pinpricks, so I've got to close distance fast. And an allied Typhoon goes head to head with a Focke-Wulf 190 A5 and discovers exactly why that is a bad idea. Now I'm spraying a little aggressively here, just trying to score hits on this A5. I'm going to have to RTB in a moment anyway, and escort Caden back in. Thankfully score a big critical hit to the left wing. Now the reaction of that aircraft actually told me exactly what damage I got there. If you hit and critical the wing of a 190, specifically the A models, and they perform a little aileron roll like you saw this guy do, that's actually not him doing it. What happens is when you perform massive lift damage to a single wing in a sudden burst like that, the instructor takes a few moments to trim and stabilise the aircraft, and generally the 190s with their high roll rates will immediately do a rollover. With that sort of damage, it means the 190 is now combat ineffective. He'll be trying to RTB. Unfortunately, I'm out of ammunition, so I'm heading back to a runway myself. Now this is a point where I could have lost this kill. He is still flying and still killable by anybody on my team. Thankfully, he crashes out not long after landing the aircraft, and as he was the last member of the enemy team, that got me the kill. Now if I hadn't been so wild on the trigger at the start of the match, I would have still had cannon rounds available in order to secure that kill and never place the gamble on whether or not I was actually going to get it or not. Still, let's go check out the results. So, first place for the team with 3 kills, 1 assist, Fighter Rescuer, Avenger, Professional X2, Shadow Strike Streak, Windstreak X3, Final Blow, The Best Squad, Terror of the Sky, Balancer, and Bulletproof, 69,005 Silver Lions, and 3,510 module research points, none of which went to the plane as this one is obviously spaded. So a great match with some great teamwork in a great aircraft. The F Mark.IX has always been one of my favourite variants of the Spitfire range. It lacks some of the high-end performance of the LF Mark.IX, the infamous Spacefire, which is both loved, adored and hated by the War Thunder community in equal measure. But it's still a great plane. I really enjoy flying this one. And at 4.3 battle rating, as you can see, it's incredibly effective. So for our next match, we're taking out the Silver Devil, the Spitfire Mark 24, the last and most powerful of the Spitfires in War Thunder. And this plane's got it all. It's fast, it's manoeuvrable, it is heavily armed, with 420mm Hispano cannons with 630 rounds of ammunition overall. It's got great low and high altitude performance. It's really the all-rounder of War Thunder. Now this match I've been joined by Grievous in his Tempest, Wake Me Up of Brit Squadron, also flying a Tempest, and the Air Cadet from RAAF Squadron, who accidentally selected his Spitfire 1A rather than his Griffin Spitfire going into battle. Now at battle rating 5.7, the Spitfire Mark 24 and the Mark 22 are both aircraft that I consider to be under-tiered. These planes should have matching BRs with the Bearcat 1B in the US tree. Now that being said, they're not unbeatable aircraft. I hear commonly from Bearcat pilots complaining that they can't take these things out. And it's really because the meta changes with this Spitfire as to what it has been in the past. In the lower battle ratings, up till you got the P-51, it's always been a case of the American fighters are faster, and generally have faster dive rates, where the British fighters tend to climb better and be more manoeuvrable. And just a quick spot of B-17 hunting there, removing him from the battle before he has a chance to bomb out all the bases. So what does change in the meta of War Thunder between the Griffin Spitfires coming into play for the British and the Americans getting access to the Bearcat? At the start of World War II, when the British were fighting the Germans, they needed a highly manoeuvrable and extremely fast climbing interceptor to prevent German bombers from being able to take out targets on British soil, which is where the early Spitfire development came from. But over time, this was as the Germans were pushed back across Europe, the need for this became less and less, and what they needed was a high-speed interceptor that could intercept targets and bombers over German soil. So slowly over time, the Spitfire got faster and faster in its development. Now the Griffin Spitfires were never actively deployed in large numbers during World War II. The Mark 24 was most certainly not used in World War II. However, even after the war ended, the development of the Spitfire up until its eventual close followed the British needs of the European theatre. Speaking of F-8Fs, I've got one trying to engage Grievous at the moment, diving in rapidly, and he does not see me coming. Grievous is the Tempest cracked open, he's flying him in a straight line just to line me up perfectly. Grievous goes vertical, Bearcat goes to follow, completely unaware that I'm here. Second kill of the match. Now, as I was saying, The development of the Bearcat for the Americans actually went in the opposite direction. They already had heavy, fast fighters. What they needed was an extremely manoeuvrable fighter to take on some of the best planes that the Japanese ever developed in the end of the war. Now again, the Bearcat never actually saw active service in World War II. It was developed too late, exactly the same as the Spitfire Mark 24. However, it was developed for the needs of the Pacific Theatre regardless. The Bearcat is more manoeuvrable, but slower than the Griffon Spitfire. The Bearcat has better energy retention in the vertical than the Spitfire. The Spitfire is faster in a dive, in level flight, and has better level flight energy retention. However, it sacrifices manoeuvrability, and that extra mass and speed means it actually has difficulty slowing itself down in short bursts. Bearcats are able to outmaneuver Spitfires and actually cause them to overshoot without too much of an issue once you understand the differences between these two aircraft. And that's where most American pilots seem to fail in the Bearcats when fighting these Spitfires. They are still in the mindset of being in what is meant to be a faster, heavier, less manoeuvrable aircraft. And when British pilots generally fail against Bearcats, it's because they're in the mindset that they should be in the lighter, more manoeuvrable aircraft, when the opposite is actually true. Basically, if you really want to perform well in these planes, you need to fly the Bearcat like it's a Spitfire, and you need to fly the Spitfire like it's a P-51. But, however, as I said earlier, the battle rating on the Spitfire Mark 22 and Mark 24 really needs to be boosted up. So Grievous was trying to get an emergency landing on the airfield there. The F-7F moved to try and vulture him on landing, so he just lifted up the nose and went head-to-head, and they took one another out. So that was the last major fighter on the enemy team. There is one Bearcat remaining, but he is the last player on the enemy team. The other aircraft has been shot down and just not ejected from the match, so that was this one pretty much over. So, first place for the team with 2 kills, we've got Fighter Rescuer, Professional, Shadow Strike Streak, Teamwork, The Best Squad, Terror of the Sky and Bulletproof, 51,545 Silver Lions, and we come in at 3,569 research points, and it was a very fast match at only 10 minutes. So, 50,000 credits for 10 minutes work, not bad. I don't really fly the Spitfire Mark 24 much anymore. I really do like the aircraft, but it comes down to a combination of that 5.7 battle rating, as well as, well, despite being in the game for some time now, American pilots still not understanding exactly how to deal with this aircraft. Well, honestly, it's sort of like clubbing baby seals. Even this match, the enemy opposition in this match was F8 F1s and F8 F1Bs and F7Fs, exactly the aircraft this fighter should be encountering, and it was still wholesale slaughter. I really do look for aircraft where I can regularly find extremely fun, extremely challenging fights with good opposition, and unfortunately, as much as I love this aircraft, this is an aircraft where it is, well, actually I don't think I've ever had a battle where I've been seriously challenged in the plane, and that's a problem. Hopefully, with a little bit of luck, that will change in the future. Anyways, ladies and gents, click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more, fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.